Hello. For this video, I want to talk about conclusion paragraphs. I think these are always one of the more annoying parts of writing essays. I think students are always very frustrated with conclusions as well as introductions. And just like I said in my other video on introductions, I think part of it is because this stuff is taught kind of poorly. I think we were right to be frustrated with what they told us, especially about conclusion paragraphs. Because, let me know if I'm right, but my understanding is that, what we've heard about conclusion paragraphs is that you're supposed to restate what came before it, or you're supposed to summarize what your argument has been. And I think we were always kind of right that this didn't really make sense, that there was something sort of off here. First of all, if you were writing like a 5 paragraph essay, say in high school when they were telling you this, those essays aren't very long. How long are those essays? Like 1 page, 2 pages, maybe? Like if we were typing them up, I know we might have handwritten a lot of them, but if we're typing them up, they're like a page and a half. I don't know. So it's like, did you forget what the argument was? Like, do I really need to like just say it again in the conclusion? Like, didn't you just read it? Like, were you paying attention in the other paragraphs before this that I need to just say it all again? And like, it makes sense to me to bring the argument up at the end of the essay just to kind of be like, hey, this was the takeaway. Make sure that this is what you got out of it. Like, I understand that, but I don't think that we just want to kind of. I think the frustration comes with the idea of restating what you've said, which is, restating is different than repeating, right? Because you're going to say the same thing but with different words. And it's like, what's the point of that? What a pointless exercise, say the same thing with different words. It's very unnecessary. So here's what I'll say about the conclusion. I think we should not think about it as just summarizing what we've already said. Yes, you want to mention your argument and you want to make sure the reader gets that, here's what the takeaway for you is, here's what the argument was. But I think what you can also do is kind of look at the bigger picture. Let's say, in an argument essay, you're making an argument, you're trying to convince somebody of something. Okay, fine. Let's say that you're right about that argument. Well, why does that matter? Why should I care? How is that going to affect me? Why should I be interested? What are the consequences? I think these are all good things that you can address in your conclusion. And it's all kind of, yeah, looking at the bigger picture. Like, how should what you've said change my perspective about something? Or, um, yeah, I guess the easiest way to just say it is as if I'm the audience, why should I care about this? Even if your argument's correct, why should I care? Why does it matter to me? I think that's something you can try to address in the conclusion. Another way to think about that is you can try to answer the question of so what. If someone heard your argument, like, okay, so let's just say you're right about this. So what? Why does it matter? The thing about language, if we're writing the essay that language is important, language connects us to our culture. Well, so what? Why does that matter? Why should I be interested in that? Why is this something I should want to know? And I feel like that seems like a harsh question to ask, so what? But to me, it's just that's the worst case scenario is at the end of your essay if the reader is like, well, so what? Why does this matter to me? So I think the conclusion is a good place to take some time to sort of address that question, just because you don't want the reader to be in that place. The conclusion is kind of the last chance that you have to just, let the reader know, like, this is what I want you to take from my essay, as you go back to your regular life, like, maybe it'll change your perspective in this sort of way. Another question that you can address in the conclusion, depending on what kind of essay you're writing, is what now? Like, what should be done? And that depends on what you're writing about. Like, I feel like I remember a student writing an essay about pollution or something where they had paragraphs about, different kinds of solutions to make there be less pollution around. And I remember saying to them that I thought something that could be cool for the introduction or for the conclusion is like, well, what could someone in the audience do? Like what are the next steps? What's like the first thing that would need to happen for some of these changes to be made to fix pollution or whatever. So it depends what kind of essay you're writing, but that can be, but again, things that are kind of extending beyond your essay, kind of looking forward or looking at the bigger picture, the larger significance of the whole thing. Again, addressing that question of so what. And I think that can be, I know that doesn't make it easy, but I think this is it's kind of a subtle change maybe if we're shifting our focus from summarizing what we've already said to trying to explain why it matters and why the reader should care and how it could affect their life or the way they think about the world. It's a subtle difference, but I think it's an important one, and I think it's one that can allow us to see the conclusion as something useful. Something that actually does add to the essay, and not just something that repeats things that have already been said in the essay. So I hope that by looking at it that way, we can get a little more out of the conclusion, even if it's still kind of difficult. But yeah, like I said, you do want to make sure that you have your argument in the conclusion, and then maybe also address some of the stuff of why it's important, what's the larger significance. All right. So yeah, that would be my best advice, even for the essay we're writing right now, is to kind of take an approach like that. Okay, that's it for this video. See you next time.